So for me, the idea of space here allows me, especially in terms of abstraction. Abstraction is a form that developed for me out of a need to express something I didn't understand and that I don't understand about myself. What the space does is let me calm down. The actual physical space in a painting calms me down so that I can actually go further with it and feel my way into some of the details. And the details are almost unconscious, except that we're always dealing with the format and how the format informs how I put the paint on and where I put the quiet areas and what that eventually tells me. I do work with a study, but a lot of the time, again, the space is not an actual space, it's more like an imagined space. So the space is imagined space in my head or in my heart or wherever. And then in that space, I put over top of it my memory. So the physicality of actually being there.
Form?
Yeah. So the form in this case is abstraction. And abstraction for me, as opposed to representation, which for some people works great, but I find that having painted representation before when I first started, I found that for me, I start to think about that and it removes this space from me, for me. Yet I have profound appreciation for really good representational painting. I think it's amazing, especially landscape and the figure. But that does not work for me. So it's the form of abstraction that opens the door. And as far as bridging it with an idea of landscape, it is the idea or the feeling of the landscape. It's like if somebody said to me, paint Mount Rundle, I would probably paint a gray canvas with big crevasses in it. And it would be because for me, Mount Rundle would be something that I would be like this to because I would be climbing it or something, right? So that's why. It's just a different, you come from a different place, a different perspective, right? And that's beautiful because, you know, there's these perspectives of the vista, like in your work, where it's this all-encompassing feeling and tons of space, but space in a different way. And it's so, and that form, and the way you bring the space from that form and then acknowledge to the space of the viewer standing there is really smart.
Yeah.
And in terms of bridging, this kind of work bridges the idea of landscape with the idea of abstraction, with the form of abstraction. Mm-hmm. And so there's this constant struggle between how far into representation do you go and how far into abstraction? And this is a problem that artists have been, or an idea that artists have been addressing for many, 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 many years. Yeah. And many artists do. Because there's that interest, there's that liminal space where nothing is exactly what you think it is.